JPC Letters. Climate and changing conditions. The crux of the question is, have humans caused any lasting damage to the atmosphere and climate? In these considerations we have looked at a few issues considered in the occult teachings. Thinking positively, anything that man has done can be undone and probably therefore is not lasting or of crisis/disaster proportions. Points that may be considered could be: A man can and does cause climate alterations by his activities. B. Man's very consciousness is responsible for heating and cooling of the earth temp and atmosphere. C. Earth as an atomic unit can adjust any changes that is highs or lows, again indicating there can be highs or lows in temp, as we know. D. That this whole topical issue is due to man's learning to use energy correctly. That this indicates the overall, very long process of Earth transforming from being a dark star and carbonic to being a sacred planet, which DK states is so on the inner planes. E. The shift taking place in the Earth's axis causing climatic changes per DK single quote 2117 letter. F. There is another point that needs addressing. Does HPB somewhere say that in the distant future the ice caps will melt and reveal the land mass under? If this is so, why is the ice melt happening at this time, if they are? Or are these two scenarios quite unconnected in the larger picture and therefore only related in a lesser cycle if the former is accurate? The Tibetan DK says, this leads to definite changes and is responsible for much of the present chaos, turmoil and confusion. If you add to this the shift which is taking place in the Earth's axis, indicated by the widespread climatic changes and earthquakes among other things, you have a situation which must cause much confusion to astrologers everywhere. 2117 DK letter. End quote. This is highly pertinent to the global recognition of climate change. Taking into consideration also that human material consciousness determined also climatic conditions according to DK and HPB, we have a strong case for the obvious climate change observations. There's no question that man does cause climate alterations by his activities on Earth. His industrious nature has caused so much more pollution since the time of DK writing even. DK did cover much on how we can alter our climate or put a kingdom out of balance. There is a valid question that we may have, through our excessive greed and material desire, altered our world climate to a large degree. Let us take into context the below from the Tibetan. On the first hand he highlights the modern economic situation. We must compare that by today's standards. Temperature, heat and cold, are the result of the interplay of opposites concerning racial and humanity's emotions. He likens them to the selfish astral nature of the world economy. So they are strongly linked, we may agree, and thus we affect or condition our world climate. Today we speak of the economic climate. How occultly true this turns out to be. For there to be planetary life as we understand it, there does of course need to be desire, and upon ending of that desire climatic conditions will negate form life, as DK tells us. So we must consider the feverish economic conditions since the time of DK writing and the extreme materialism which without doubt then, must cause global warming or great climatic alterations. Man's consciousness and thereby his activities are alone responsible for his climate. It is not implausible that humanity can alter the world climate, raise the temperature and melt, even in part, the ice caps. Let us consider the following. DK tells us, the entire modern economic situation is of an astral nature. It is the outcome of desire and the result of a certain selfish use of the forces of matter. Heat and cold, as we understand the term, in a most peculiar manner are the result of the interplay of the pairs of opposites, and an interesting line of occult study concerns itself with the effects of racial emotions on climatic conditions.